All right, so there are some things I want to go over here that seem necessary to go over at this point. The first thing I want to do is recap the idea of paranormal resonance. So, paranormal resonance. Okay, so first off, we have this section of the whiteboard represented as the paranormal realm, okay? This section represented as known reality. So, we find ourselves sitting right here. This is, we exist in the known reality, but we're right on the border of the paranormal. The idea of paranormal resonance says that there's something inside the human mind that is anomalous, that resonates with this paranormal realm. There's a connection. They talk to each other. There's an interaction between them, right? So this resonance, this is a passive thing that everybody has to greater and lesser degrees. But this means that the human mind is essentially a gateway, a bridge. Now, it's faint enough that you don't really notice it. Human beings don't notice it for the most part, but it causes a lot of confusion and unintended, strange paranormal things to happen. The most notable example of this would be ghosts. Ghosts are an example of manifestation because there's this passive connection with the paranormal realm, creating a dimensional bridge, right? That's dimensional bridging. A small version of it, really. But we have dimensional bridging. We have a bridge. Okay? Things can pass through. Things from the paranormal can pass into reality, such as ghosts. But this is very faint. Now, there's throughout history, there's things people have done. Occult rituals, all that type of stuff. You have your grimoires and all this stuff throughout history, which who knows how much of it's real. But there are things said to, manifest things into our realm. Call them forth. Demons, ghosts, things like that. Or even like seances and things. Are these things real? I don't know, but within this theory, they make sense. We know that ghosts are a real thing that can happen. So we have things like rituals and all that stuff. Now, these work, they hypothetically work because they get the brain in a certain state. Now, the brain, so the different brain states allow the paranormal resonance to become stronger, or allow the resonance to become stronger, or allow a greater connection. Something of that sort. So, for example, something that is known to work is meditation. Because meditation gets your brain in a lower state. Your brain waves lower. And lower brain states help to build this conduit, this bridge, this dimensional bridging. You have things like the gateway process, CIA stuff. And stuff like that was actually used to do things like remote viewing. So we're talking about manifesting things. Oh, we got an alarm. Go off alarm. Okay. Okay, we have things like manifestation. That's bringing the paranormal realm into our known reality, right? But with things like, you could say psychics, mystics, through specific techniques like meditation, or some people may just have, their brain might just have a better connection to this paranormal realm, right? So they can go in here. Things like remote viewers. They could use the paranormal realm, or they could, connect with it or use it to do things like remote view and kind of bring that paranormal realm into reality. They, go in and grab it almost, or use it to influence their own reality. You have things like monks who can achieve superhuman strength and do feats. They could somehow, use this paranormal realm tap into it to, you know, affect their body in the physical world. Okay? So that's where we're at as far as paranormal resonance. That's the main idea behind it. Now, what we're doing here is a little different. Well, it's exactly the same, but how we're doing it's different. So I am building a machine, right? I built a machine. And what this machine does is, so step one, take the human. The person, which is me in this case, has to go into a meditation chamber, a sealed off chamber, where he's connected to EEGs and things like that. Then he meditates to get his brain waves as low as possible. Okay, he's connected to this machine, and all these, you know, all the specific brain states, you know, brain waves, all go to a processing center, and then they get, you know, they get amplified to degrees that would be impossible by conventional means. Like I said, people throughout history opened this gateway by things like meditation, but it's a limit to it. This machine is able to copy those brain waves and amplify them. So then it's able to create a very strong, powerful bridge, hence dimensional bridging. This is the process of dimensional bridging. And this machine sends out probing signals. It scans for bands of frequencies. And then let's say it finds something, it resonates with it. That resonant connection is attained. The signal that we pick up comes back to the machine because they're resonating. And then it's displayed through things like CRTs and my other technical instruments. The one point is things like CRTs, they're useful because they're analog. There's still a lot of things that have to happen to make that work, but because they can kind of just use the raw signal, they're much better than anything digital. Now, all this is fine and good, but the thing about it is that, you know, if you're opening up a huge conduit, way bigger than would ever normally happen, that allows you to be able to look into it, to find things. But it also allows things to manifest out in greater degrees to levels that would be impossible. So a byproduct of doing this dimensional bridging is the process of, or there's the unintended effect of manifestation, which, as far as I understand, I don't think can be totally stopped. So I did make some adjustments to the machine. So during the first experiment, there's a couple things that happened that were concerning. First off, I had the amplitude way too high. It was like, imagine, you know, a shotgun. Caused instability, the machine turned off, and we had manifestation events. First off, the scream. Second, we saw the entity in the woods, the face. Now, there's different things I'm doing to stabilize the machine more. You know, the frequency sweeps are more to 8 to 14 hertz, calibrating things differently. I've added relay systems, things like that to make everything more stable and work better. But there's one thing that's really bothering me that I find the most concerning of all. Oh, my heater just went out and it is freezing. More propane. Oh boy. The most concerning thing is that I heard voices. They were overwhelming me. I mean, it was like I had a torrent of like energy and voices surrounding me. And when I went back to the video, there was nothing. It was like I was a crazy person. So that only leaves a couple of options. Now, let's erase all this here. There we go. Okay, let's get our human being back. Now, it would make sense that because the human brain is a conduit for things to pass through back and forth, that as things pass through the human brain, they could be affected or they could affect the human brain. Makes perfect sense. Maybe the manifestations could somehow be specific or be tied into the human being's mind or emotions, or there could be all kinds of effects, right? That makes sense. But because, I thought I could avoid this because I have this machine that's picking up my brain waves, amplifying them, and then this machine is essentially serving as the brain, right? So I thought I could bypass all of that. I don't think that's true anymore. I think that because my own specific brain waves and brain states are being used to inform the machine, I think by doing this, it still affects my own mind. My mind is still tied to it because this machine is still doing the dimensional bridging with my brain state. So this can cause unintended consequences, I think, to my own mind, which is honestly, it's very concerning. Because when you're opening up a large enough conduit like this, I mean, the effects, I mean, this is totally uncharted territory. Now, I mean, all of this is, but especially this aspect. Well, I don't know. It's just, it affects how I do, because things that are tied to my specific consciousness, I can't really record or analyze in an objective way. There's that aspect of it, but there's also the aspect of how's this going to affect me over time? What ways could this warp the mind or twist it or drive it insane? If the human mind is being subjected to, all this traffic going through it, and just the fact of if I'm able to see things no one else can, I'm basically a crazy person in real life, right? So that's the most concerning aspect. I mean, as far as the manifestation goes, it's scary. Let's be real. It's unnerving, it's scary, but I don't think it's dangerous. Now, if you opened up the conduit, if I really changed the machine up and had the dimensional bridge was, open to a really large degree, I think that, maybe the manifestation could become dangerous or maybe even physical in some sense. I don't know. But I'm not really worried about the manifestations at this point. I think they're more unnerving more than anything. But the specific effects to my brain states, I think that is the most concerning part. So I'm trying to keep a close eye on that and how I feel and everything, because that's the biggest concern at this point in my mind.